Dead of night, the girl awoke with a jolt. She crept downstairs, every step trembling with fear. A shadow moved, an intruder inside her home. Heart racing, she fled back to her room. But the alien had already heard her. Instinct drove her under the bed, gasping for silence. The creature tore away blankets, clawed through pillows. Finding nothing, it turned toward the window. A guttural roar split the night, echoing far and wide, calling out to its kind before slipping into the dark. Step by step, she retreated into the shadows. Every breath was a razor drawn across her throat. Then, without warning, the house ignited. Lights flared, machines roared, a storm of madness. The television and radio shrieked like tortured metal. Static clawed at her skull, dragging her into panic. She killed the noise, hand trembling on the phone. But a blast of shrieking sound sent her staggering back. The line was dead, the air thick with doom. She turned for the stairs, then froze. From the darkness, the alien emerged. Her blood turned to ice, lungs locked in silence. She squeezed into the narrow gap, praying to vanish. But the glass betrayed her, reflecting her terror for the beast to see. The alien wrenched open the fridge, trapping her in the suffocating gap. Its head slid forward, slow and deliberate, taunting her with terror. She gathered her last courage and ran for the door, only to be smashed down by its alien grip, her vision drowning toward black. Gaining a flicker of consciousness, she crawled with all her strength, but after only a few desperate steps, the alien's claws closed around her. In blind terror, she seized a toy and drove it into the alien's temple. The creature collapsed, lifeless on the floor. At dawn, she biked toward town, desperate to call for help. But the road was chaos. An overturned delivery truck, its driver vanished. Even her neighbor's home lay in ruins, shredded by alien hands. She pressed on, reaching the station at last, only to be met with the sheriff's wife spitting full in her face. The sheriff's eyes burned with blame, his silence louder than words. The other officers only stared, then turned away, uncaring. Her chest tightened with grief as she walked off, desperate to escape their gaze. Dark glasses hid her eyes, a hat shadowed her face, and she boarded the bus, its steady rumble dulling her pain. But peace never lasts, because on that bus a twisted man blocked her path, and beneath his throat something writhed alive under the skin. His body twisted unnaturally as he staggered toward her. The driver slammed the brakes, sending the man crashing to the ground, unconscious. Free for the moment, she stumbled away until the looming shadow of a church rose before her. On its steps, a gravestone. Maud Collins, the sheriff's daughter, the same girl who had just stood before her. Every time grief crushed her chest, she would come here to confess. Now the grave itself stared back. The sky darkened. Clouds tore across the heavens, lightning splitting the night. But this was no storm, it was the mask of something alien. She ran home in terror. Inside, the alien corpse was already rotting, spilling black water across the floor. The ooze stretched outward, seeping toward the garden beyond the door. She looked to the sky, shapes descending, closer every second. Killing one had doomed her. They would come, and no one could save her. So she armed herself, candles lit, kerosene lamps burning. 4 pots of water boiled, their steam hissing with violent promise. A utility knife lay at her side, her last weapon for survival. She sealed every window. But the door, broken by the alien, could only be covered with a quilt, nailed across the frame. The moment she finished, the nails wrenched free, one by one, without a single hand to touch them. She dove into hiding, heart hammering against her ribs. A beam of light split the room, sweeping across the rotting alien corpse. In an instant, the body lifted, dragged upward, sucked into the night sky. She held her breath, lungs burning, terrified to make a sound. When the light vanished, she bolted. But as she slipped into another room, a shadow fell at the doorway, another alien descending. The floor groaned. She darted aside, barely avoiding its gaze. Then a second creature crashed in, tracking her every move. She circled a pillar, desperate, hunted from both sides. Her eyes caught the glint of scissors. She seized them, knuckles white, but before she could strike, the alien closed in, her chance slipping away in the darkness. Turned out the aliens knew misdirection too. The girl panicked, snatching up a photo frame. Then she raised the scissors, desperate for defense. But with a flick, the alien's power yanked them away. Terror surged. She clutched the frame instead, holding it like a shield. Again, the alien gestured. The frame ripped free, floating into its grasp. But instead of attacking, it froze, staring dumbly at the image inside. The girl's pulse hammered. She seized the moment, turned, fled. The alien stirred, snapping back to the chase. Her hands found the kettle, still steaming. With a sharp motion, she tipped it. Boiling water arced through the air, splattering across the creature's skin. The hiss of searing flesh drowned the silence. The alien did not burn. It did not blister. It walked through boiling water untouched. Claws spread wide, it stalked her. The girl turned and fled again. Her iron kettle slammed against the wall, pinned there by invisible force. The alien closed in. She backed away slowly, trembling. Then the creature lifted its hand and shaped its fingers into a heart. Her breath froze. Did it desire her? She staggered back while it gestured, then slammed the door shut. But the moment passed. The alien's face twisted into fury. The door rattled. Wood splintered under its strength. With nothing left, she snatched a mop and drove it forward. The alien shrieked, impaled against the wall. The second one was dead. She dove through the window, landing hard, but the relief was brief. A new sound, a shadow above. Another alien clung to the rooftop, its limbs bent like a spider. Her scream stuck in her throat. It crashed down, crawling toward her, but clumsy, slow. The girl fumbled for her car. The beast lunged again. She slipped inside, slammed the door shut, barely alive. Gasoline bled from the shattered car. She pulled a lighter from her pocket and with one spark set the night on fire. Then she fled, vanishing into the next heartbeat. Her relief barely sparked before a beam of alien light froze her in place, body locked in terror. An alien loomed before her, jaws splitting wide, spewing a tentacled worm that forced its way down her throat. Bulin jolted awake, drenched in sweat. Her eyes darted around the room. Was it all just a dream? Sunlight streamed through the windows, warm, almost merciful. She walked downstairs, clinging to that fragile hope. But then she froze. Standing there was Maud, her best friend, long dead, smiling as if nothing had happened. Tears welled in Bulin's eyes. She reached out, stroking Maud's hair, staring into that blurred, fading face. And then it struck her. The dead do not return. What she touched was only an illusion, spun by alien hands. Her chest tightened. She shoved trembling fingers down her throat and wrenched out the writhing parasite inside her. The sight of it, slick and twitching, filled her with revulsion. She hurled it onto the grass, gagging, desperate to be rid of it. Then she crawled, clawing at the earth, dragging herself away with what strength remained. A thunderous roar erupted overhead. The UFO's shriek split her skull, pain bursting behind her eyes. A beam of light speared down, locking onto the parasite. And before her eyes the worm twisted, shuddered, and reshaped into her own reflection. A perfect copy. Her double stepped from the beam, following her into the dark of the forest. Without a word, the duplicate drove a jagged shard into her stomach. It raised the weapon for a second strike, but Bulin struck first, slashing its artery open with the utility knife. Blood poured as the copy collapsed, dying in her arms. Clutching her wound, she staggered onto the path, praying to find another soul. Instead, she walked straight into the shadow of another alien. While distracted, she was seized by the alien and dragged into the UFO. Paralyzed, she lay helpless as several beings closed in. Cold hands pressed against her forehead, and in a flash, her mind was hurled into the past. She saw herself quarreling with Maud, her best friend. Maud shoved her hard to the ground, and there beside her, a stone lay waiting. And that was why the town despised her, because Bulin had killed her best friend Maud by mistake. Since then, she lived buried in guilt and sorrow, writing letters to the dead girl in a desperate search for forgiveness. Now she watched her younger self, heartbreaking with pity. The aliens saw it too, her memory laid bare, and began a long, silent communion among themselves. No one knew what the aliens had whispered among themselves, but suddenly Bulin was released, dropped back onto the lonely path beneath the sky. Above her, coloured lights shimmered, strange and endless. For the first time her face softened, almost bright. Days later she cast off her despair, dressed anew, painted her lips, began again. Those who once shunned her now smiled, waving, inviting her to the dance. For the first time since Maud's death, warmth filled her chest. But it was all a lie, for the aliens had conquered Earth, rewriting human memory to seal their rule.